So how this works is it's either we think the game is underrated, we think the game is overrated, or we think it's either good as is, bad as is, or just a plain mediocre game. But it's mostly just to say, is this game overrated or is the game underrated? And I think Sonic games have a lot to work with. Sonic games definitely have a lot to work with. So we're just gonna go in order of this. I'm just gonna go off of games that I think are gonna be on this. I think should be on this list, and then we can figure out other games that we can put on there. But Sonic 1, do we think it is overrated, or is it underrated, or is it just good as is?
Um, I think it's good as is. It gets the flack that it deserves for being an older game, not being like it was made in 1991, so like it's not gonna be perfect. Um,
It's your first game. It's your first
Obviously,
game. It's a great
yeah,
introduction to the
first game.
franchise.
They came out strong. They did come out strong.
They came out
We will
strong,
admit.
but then your
Uh,
second game, so the second game, Sonic 2, obviously capitalized on that. I think that's
yeah,
great as
they
is.
kept the they kept up the pace. Yeah, it was really good. I think honestly, all the first three games are all first four, even Sonic CD, just all came out the gate strong. He got the recognition he deserved. He is a gaming icon because of how strong he started.
Right. Now, what I'm going to say about Sonic 3 and Knuckles is it's mostly due to how everyone says this game is probably the best Sonic game ever, and that's where I'm going to have to disagree in terms of it's the best
Yeah,
2D Sonic game ever, and I'm like, for me, it's Sonic 2. It's for me. I find that's the thing. For me, Sonic 2 is better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles because I I find Sonic 3 and Knuckles to be a little overrated.
just a little bit. Just I agree
It's
actually
not like it's
because
always
like
totally overrated like how I feel with Sonic Adventure, but um,
I think it's only overrated because people hype it up to the point of exhaustion.
yeah,
Like it deserves hype, yeah, but like
like when
relax.
I played it, I'm like, okay, I enjoyed the game, but there are certain qualities of it that I'm just like compared to Sonic 2, I just liked more. Like I think the music in Sonic 2 was so consistently good no matter what level you were in. I think the Sonic 3 music was a hit or miss. Sonic and
Yeah,
Knuckles
Sonic
music
3 had
was so
hits.
much better. So on it, okay. I made the same argument with like DC and Marvel, and I'm
Okay.
gonna do the same thing with Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. It's like with Marvel and DC, I love the entirety of Marvel more than I love DC, but I like Batman more than the entirety of Marvel. If that makes
Okay.
sense. So with Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, it's like I like Sonic 2 more than Sonic 3 and Knuckles as a whole, but I like Sonic and Knuckles more than I like Sonic 3. And it's just
Okay.
that's the thing. I love Sonic and Knuckles, but like if the games were still separate, Sonic and Knuckles beats Sonic 3, and I think Sonic 3 I think that's where people fall short and say this game is absolutely great, and it's like no, only half the game is great. Like Sonic and Knuckles I think is great. Sonic 3 is a hit or miss for me. Its music is a hit or miss. Its game the freaking was the Carnival Night Zone or whatever.
Yeah.
That freaking atrocity of a level. The freaking barrels that you have to go up and down and up and down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Um.
yeah, oh the
All
fucking
right.
Sandopolis though. I didn't
Stand
th-
up with
I didn't think Jon Snow and T Lopes could make that score any better, but they did with Team Sonic Racing. Like Sandopolis was absolute bop in Team Sonic Racing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
Yeah,
the music in
absolutely.
Sonic 3 was so generic, and it was just like, okay, it's kind of like it's dragging on. You're in a desert, so it makes sense. But I'm like, I want something hyped and something like high speed, and you get that with the new remix. And I'm like, this is great. You make me
Yeah,
like
it
music.
was good.
You make me like music for a zone I absolutely hated. Uh, but yeah, Sonic and Knuckles I think is good as is, but I do think Sonic 3 would be the one that's overrated. Yeah, Sonic CD I think is it's where it needs to be. It's not for me it's not the
Yeah, where it needs to
greatest
be.
game, it's not the worst game. It's just it's as it is as it is. Sonic 3D Blast.
Oh god. So okay, so I also own some kind of like Sega Drive collection on the PS3. I
Uh-huh.
think it was.
Yeah, yeah,
It
that
had games like Sonic 3D Blast.
yeah.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing back then as a kid.
Well, you had that.
We had to
Like,
like
I don't know if the game was better on the Genesis or if it was better on the Saturn, but I don't know. That's the thing. I wouldn't know that. But
it deserves the little bit of praise it gets, but it's definitely not good.
does it
It
get
was it was
praise?
just a rough
Does it
transition.
actually get praise? I don't think I've known anyone.
Not real praise. Not real praise.
It,
It's
it,
more
de-
like
it
that
deserves
like,
the criticism that it
oh, you
gets.
tried.
Uh,
Yeah, it definitely deserves the criticism.
that I wouldn't
It was a
class.
rough transition.
I wouldn't call that trying though. Like
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Sonic
it was a
R
rough
was
transition.
trying. Like Sonic R was trying, but even that was like really. I
Yeah,
think there was supposed to be a mainstream like Sonic 3D game that was supposed to come out on the Saturn, but they just didn't do it.
it was Sonic Extreme, I
No,
think.
there was that, but there was one that was there was a concept of, and I think you can look this up, and it was looks so weird. Like it's like this is an interesting concept, and it's just like I don't remember. I don't think it had a name. Sonic Extreme was like they reinvented
Oh,
into a fan game because they found like a whip of it or something. But I'm like,
oh,
but it was a different game that was supposed to come out on the Saturn. I don't remember
no,
what
no,
it
you're
was.
talking about.
Yeah, and you've only seen like subtle concepts of it. It was like it was supposed to compete with Mario 64, but that it just the game didn't happen, and then Sonic Adventure happened instead of that. I think because the Dreamcast was
Yeah,
they scrapped it because the Dreamcast was coming out. I think that's what
right.
happened. So the Dreamcast comes out, and you get Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
That game, I think, is highly, highly overrated. And I cannot stress
Oh
this
yeah,
long enough.
absolutely.
Like people rip on the Sam's procrastination station, right? They rip
Oh
on
yeah, yeah,
him
yeah.
because he's like, I don't like Sonic Adventure, but then they peer pressured him, and now he's like, oh, I do like Sonic Adventure. I'm like, there is nothing you can do that will convince me to like a game like Sonic Adventure. It's not the worst. I'll give it that. There's a game that is much worse than Sonic Adventure. I just think it's super overrated for what it is. I think Sonic Adventure 2 completely capitalizes on the flaws of that game. Except, I mean, the Knuckles
Yeah.
levels was different, but I think it added a little bit of a challenge, but that's just my opinion. People
Sonic
are.
Adventure tried too hard because they want. So the whole idea was Sonic has all these friends. Let's make them all playable, but let's give them different playstyles. Great idea, horrible execution.
It's like
Um,
Sonic's levels
like
were
even just
fine.
starting at, I would play SA1 Sonic any day of the week, but like Tails, I would do it if someone told me I should. Knuckles, maybe. Amy, hell no. Big, hell no. Gamma,
Gamma, yeah.
maybe. I
Gamma,
could just
I
go play Call
enjoy.
of Duty for sure.
That's the thing though. People will make the argument in saying that Sonic Adventure is so great when literally half of the game is unbearable to play. And that's the thing.
Yeah,
You
I'm
make
like,
I make that argument with Adventure the same way people make that argument with Unleashed. Literally half the game is unbearable to play, and it's just
mhm.
like that doesn't make it bad. Like okay, that's the thing. I think the the Werehog stages I enjoy them. The modern stages are
I
great.
like them,
I like
actually.
that's the thing. But when it comes to adventure and it's like, do you really like fishing as Big the Cat? Those levels are
And like,
terrible.
you either complete it in 2 seconds or you glitch the level out and you can't complete it at all.
It's
And there
not
was no in between.
and it's not a matter of it's like, oh, it's on old software and it's just like it doesn't matter. If it was like this then and it's like, okay, I have a different standard of Sonic games and it's like, should I enjoy this the way people enjoyed it when the game first came out? And it's like, no. I will never have that experience. I will never play the non-DX version of Sonic Adventure. Holy crap.
I think it's kind of interesting, especially with the DX. God damn it. With the DX version, a lot of people are like, this fly is irritating me. Uh, people complain about like the facial expressions in the DX version, but I'm like, the original ones weren't good either.
It's an old game, 1999. What do you expect from a completely new 3D Sonic game? And that's the thing, is like like Sonic's gameplay is fine, and it's like, okay, I hope they incorporate this for the next few Sonic games. Then they have Tails' gameplay, which is the same, but you're practically racing each other, which is it. So it's kind of a time trial in a sense. You're racing Eggman, you're
Yeah,
racing Sonic most of the time. The only difference is you can fly, but you're not really enjoying the levels. You're practically like rushing through them. Then you have Knuckles'
right.
levels. I personally prefer Knuckles' levels in Sonic Adventure 2 than I do in Adventure.
Same.
I don't know if it's just the music. I don't know if it's purely because
Oh, it's definitely a big part of it. What Knuckles' themes were crazy. They were good.
this is Knuckles who fears none. Freaking Pumpkin Hill was a bop. It's my absolute favorite.
Pumpkin Hill was a bomb. Aquatic Mind.
Play that
Aquatic
during my
Mind is my
Halloween
favorite.
party.
Play it at my funeral. Play Aquatic Mind at my funeral.
You know the fighting feet, Knuckles, and we're at Pumpkin Hill. You ready? I ain't gonna let it get to me. I'm just gonna creep down to Pumpkin Hills. Okay.
Now we do have to admit that Sonic, especially SA1, had like one of the, like one of those big moments that like set that just sits in the hearts and minds of all the '90s and early 2000s kids.
Oh yeah.
With the whole chaos fight and like a lot of big scenes in that game.
Yeah,
But I think those try to cover up the bad stuff in the game. I feel like.
yeah, and it's just like if you're trying to cover up some of the bad stuff with story and stuff like that, it's just like what carries what? Does your story carry your gameplay, or does your gameplay carry your lackluster story? And the story wasn't bad. Like if you just want to if you just want to watch the story, just watch Sonic X. Just watch Sonic X at that moment in time, because it's so weird how Sonic X goes through like reintroduces those stories, adding one major detail, and that's they're in the human world. They're explaining that anomaly and stuff like that. And that's the thing. If you want that story, you play that. That's the thing. If you're looking for gameplay, that's not the game I would play. If you want,
you have better options.
you have better options. That's the thing. It's so weird. People's first Sonic game will obviously be either their favorite forever or be one of the ones they can't like say negative things about. Like our friend Everett, he played Sonic Forces, and that was the only Sonic game he had played. But he has nothing to compare it to. And me personally, I'm like, oh, Sonic Forces is such a mediocre game. It's such a like, I have so much I can say about Sonic Forces.
Yeah.
And he's saying that the game is
like,
actually pretty good. It's just like there's so many better games to play, and that's the thing. They don't have anything to compare it to. And it's just like if I'm playing Sonic Adventure, the only game I have to compare it to is Sonic Adventure 2. And out of those two games, I'm gonna pick Sonic Adventure 2 every time. In terms of gameplay, in terms of story, in terms of anything.
Which I guess is kind of the point of being a sequel. Like, like not that they had much to go up or much to like it wasn't much of a challenge for SA2.
I had watched that video.
As a sequel, you should be better than the original.
I had watched that video of the animation of Sonic games through the years, and they talked about how like
I watched that one too. Yeah,
they used motion capture for cartoons, and I think that's like a little like it's very awkward watching cartoons making like those weird human emotions, because they did that in Sonic 06, and they actually started doing real animations with Sonic Unleashed, and that's like okay, cool. But
that's why Unleashed looks so good, because they actually animated stuff.
Yeah, so that's where I say Sonic Adventure is in fact overrated. Sonic Adventure 2 on the other hand, I feel like people would say it's overrated, but I can't I'm just going to say it's great as is.
I mean,
I can say it's a little overrated.
For me.
I could say it's a little bit.
It's a little overrated, but I will admit that I've heard criticisms about SA2 enough so to say that it almost cancels out the little bit of over exaggeration or over whatever of SA2. So I think it cancels out. So I think it's where it needs to be.
Yeah, it's just because people will talk about how like the way Knuckles plays is that it's in order of the Master Emerald shards rather than no matter where you're at, you can
Yeah.
you can find one. But I mean, that didn't really bother me. Um, some levels are like difficult to understand, like like the Tails and Eggman levels are a little bit difficult to understand at first glance. If you play it over again, you're just like, okay, this is fine. Some glitches there and then, but that's expected from an older game that has. I mean, older games have
Right.
very little polish. I mean, if you could still get through a
At
level
all.
without, if you can still get through the game, even for an older game, that's fine. Then it's just like, okay, this game was probably one of the better of the franchise, and people will still remember it as probably
And
one of the better 3D Sonic games.
right. And all of the playable characters are fun to play as, not just Sonic.
Right, and you're playing as three new characters. I mean, not three new characters, two new characters, but you've never played as Eggman before. That's the thing. You've never played
Right.
as Eggman. Shadow's completely new, and he adds kind of different. I wouldn't say he's a different play style than Sonic, but that's the thing. You have a darkened. It was mostly the story aspect, right? But like the
Right.
gameplays are pretty much the same, but there's different levels for each of them, which I think is what's cool. Rather than getting like duplicate levels, it's kind of the same level in different locations. Kind of like how it's like kind of like how Forces was, except those were just duplicate levels.
Yeah.
But like if you don't already know already, obviously I am very salty about Sonic Forces. If I haven't stressed it enough, I'm a little bit salty.
We'll get to it. We'll get
We'll
to
get to it.
it.
But what is it? So
Next
Sonic,
will be Heroes.
yeah, Hero. I can't give an opinion on that. Not played the game, not finished it ever. Can't really say that. So that's all Jalen. That's all Jalen. Is it
Oh,
under or
all right.
overrated? I mean, maybe
I'm gonna
based on what I've
say.
seen, I think it's underrated. But I don't know. That's just
Uh, I think it's. I feel like Heroes is just one of those games where you don't hear a lot of talk about. At least I haven't seen a lot of talk about. So I
mhm.
think it's kind of where it's at. However, it kind of has the same issue of Sonic Adventure One, where like you have all these, you have like six teams you can play as, and they all have different objectives, but their different objectives are in the same stages. And like, for example, it took me years to get through the chaotic stages. Years. They were so bad. Like it was like the first level was like collect like 15 crabs, and they're like pixels big,
Oh yeah.
and it's like it was bad. Like, and then the yeah, so they just had like it was just different objectives in the same stages.
Hmm.
So like I couldn't, and the idea was for it to be replayable. Kind of like how in SA2 you could play the same stage over with different objectives,
Hmm.
but they just had you do it with different teams, and like
Yeah.
you had to wall in order to get the final boss.
Yeah. It just reminds me of the one song by Sonic Paradox. I don't know. It was like Seaside Denied. I think it was what it was called.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's basically summing up each level, but then I guess because they did, I don't,
yeah.
yeah, but yeah, as I said, I just never played the game, so I wasn't actually sure as to how, like, if it was really good or not. And people say it's like I don't even want to. Do people say it's a
It's
like
okay.
above mediocre? Like it's not just okay. It's
It's
just
it's above mediocre, but it's like not by much. Because like if you play it again, unless you have a save file that has the final boss in it, you're only playing through Sonic Team or Team Sonic.
you're only
Like to be honest, like you might even do Team Dark, but like that's it.
yeah. That has to be hours worth of gameplay just for one
It's
story.
it's ridiculous.
Because it's like I don't know. As I said, I know nothing about the game other than the story itself. Other than that Vector calls Rouge a broad, practically calling her
That
a whore.
was ridiculous.
So I'm like, whoa,
Was
whoa.
he wrong?
We're gonna
I'm just playing.
We're gonna cancel.
I'm just
We're
playing.
gonna cancel Vector.
Cancel Vector. Cancel Vector 2020. Or what year was this? 2003. Cancel Vector 2003.
Cancel Vector 2023. Oh my gosh. Then you have
All right. So next we got Shadow the Hedgehog.
Another game I haven't played, but I know so much
You've
about.
never played.
No. Here's the thing. This is the only game I think Gerald has actually played, and he says he loves the game. He says it's the only Sonic game he really plays, and that's the only one he really enjoys. And it's just like, have you gone through the multiple endings, or not the multiple endings, multiple pathways to the? Actually, there are multiple endings.
Yeah.
I've seen
So
so
that's
much on it
so
to the
that's
point
kind of
where
the
I
weird.
know what happens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do people play this game?
It was a lot. So like, there's as you know, there's different branching stories or pathways, I guess, with different objectives to get each one. So you could either do like a true hero, a true dark, a true neutral, mix and match, whatever you wanted to do. Until you got to the different endings. And obviously, I'm sure you've seen some gameplay. You already know how it looks, but
Yeah,
it's slower, almost like SA1, but Shadow can use guns and
he can
swords and
use
stuff,
guns.
which is actually pretty humorous and pretty interesting.
Yeah, but you see the size of the
Like
guns compared to him. He's practically moving
it's like
with
that's what makes it funny,
guns twice his size.
and that's what makes it funny in my eyes. Just to watch this tiny hedgehog carrying a gun that I should be holding.
Yeah.
Um, but beyond that, it's actually like if it wasn't Shadow and it was just like some random guy and it was its own thing,
Mm-hmm.
people I feel like people wouldn't have complained as much because it was actually like well put together.
Because it's
And then you had like Shadow's like chaos abilities, which would correspond with what like you fill up either gauge. You can either fill up a blue gauge for chaos control or a red gauge for chaos blast.
mm-hmm.
And like obviously the control being blue was like hero, the red was like dark.
Yeah.
So like as you're going through the stage, your actions and who you're taking out, either gun soldiers, inhumans, versus the whatever the hell they were called.
Yeah.
So like yeah, it was really interesting. It was an interesting concept. They had a fun multiplayer. Had interesting bosses with good gimmicks. Like it I think it's where it needs to be.
Yeah. I think people just have an
It might be a
issue.
little overhated.
Yeah, I think people have. Yeah, overhated. Yeah, I think people just have a problem with spin-off games in terms of like people just say it's not Sonic. It's just like, who the fuck cares? Who cares? Like the whole Unleashed thing. It's like, oh, it's not Sonic. And it's like there's a lot of things that are not Sonic, but there's a lot of things that are Sonic. So it's like, which one do you prefer? Like the Knuckles Chaotix game. That like watching that gameplay is so weird. And it's just like, how do you play this game? Because it's the whole ring dynamic.
Yeah, it looks like it's meant for two people at the same time.
Right? And it's just like, I don't know. But, yeah, it's just like people just have a hard time grasping that it's not Sonic. So you're grasping the fact that this is the secondary, like, rival character, Shadow, and it's just like, okay. It's Shadow. Story, I think, is pretty interesting. You get a pretty deep analysis of who Shadow is and which Shadow it is. And you're just like, all right, cool. This is the game we get. So, as I said, I never played it. This was not a game I had the privilege of playing. So, yeah. Moving on.
All right, now we got 06.
No, before we get to 06, let's do Riders. We'll do Riders first.
Oh, we're counting Riders?
We'll do Riders. We'll do both Riders technically because I feel like they're
Both
both
Riders.
very similar. They're both practically the same game. Story wise is completely balls off the wall.
What you'd expect from a Sonic game. Yeah.
I almost want to say they're a little underrated. And I think the path that they took with the whole Connect thing is what ruined the Riders forever. Like
I've been saying that for years.
You will never see Riders again because of that move with the
Connect. With the damn Connect.
The damn Connect. No one will ever think of. Everyone will always think of Riders and be like, "Oh man, that whole Connect game." It's like, no, think about the other games. They're really good ones. Like it was such a unique. It was such a unique dynamic to the racing formula. Like you have your kart racers, like the Crash Bandicoot racing and the Mario Kart, and Sonic was trying to do something different. It wasn't a kart racer. It was a hoverboard
Yeah.
racing, and I'm like, that's so cool. But now they've gone back into the whole kart racing thing with the Sonic and Sega All Stars racing. Transform was good, and then Team Sonic
That part
Racing.
was good.
We'll get into how I feel about Team Sonic Racing later, but you just went back to normal kart racing, and it's just like, how do you make kart racing stand out more than the other kart racers? And it's like, what are you gonna do that Mario Kart doesn't already do? You have your power ups, and it's like, oh, we do wisps now. And it's just like, okay, what do your wisps do that the other power ups in Mario Kart or the Crash Team Racing or whatever does? And it's like, how do you? It's like kart racing. I feel like has become the same thing, no matter what franchise it is. It's just a matter of
Yeah,
how you implement the racing. I think that's why Transformed was so unique, because it wasn't just a kart racer. It was a plane racer. It was a boat racer in the same track.
right. I love Riders specifically. What was it on the PS2? So it was another game that I owned really early in life. Thing with Zero Gravity. Um, they were really fun, really innovative. Especially Zero Gravity. The music when it would change when you would use the gravity switch thing,
Oh yeah.
that was fire.
Yeah, but
Now we're back to ye old car racer.
ye old kart racers, and it's like, man, like looking at it, it's a matter of like, it's not that I've played the Kinect Riders because I didn't have a 360 or the Kinect, and honestly, after seeing what a
I
flop
own
the
one.
Kinect was, I was not like encouraged to get one. And it's just like, I wish there were ways you could play certain games without the Kinect, but nope. And that's the
I
thing.
had a Connect actually. It was terrible.
If there's one thing I hope Sega has learned from all of these hardware specific games, is that they never work. Right? Like,
Right.
the whole gameplay with Sonic and the Secret Rings, the only improvement they made was that it wasn't so heavily reliant on motion controls. But with it's like then you have the Kinect, and it's just like, oh, we want to try something new. Let's hope this works. And it's like, okay, you can't even blame Sega for the quality game the game that it was, because not a single game that went with the Kinect was good.
It was good.
So
They were all bad.
it's not even
Every single one
Sega's
of them.
fault that Riders sucked. It was purely the system it was put on. And it's just like, if it had just been a normal game, and I think the reason like there weren't really any cutscenes or anything, or wasn't really a genuine story mode to it, was because they focused way too much time on the hardware that was the game. Because it's not you're not using a controller, so what are you doing? You're using your entire body to move to use it.
It didn't even work.
It didn't, right? So it's like, okay, you can't. It's almost an unplayable game. Most of the games were.
I was so frustrated.
So it's like, that's what ruined Riders, was that, and now they're resorting back to the old kart racer. And you're right. It's just like, it's like well, if Riders fails, it's like, Riders did not fail because it was a terrible like spin-off. It failed because you put it in a software that you put it in. It ended up dying in a software that failed that company, and then you just associated Riders with that system, and then you're like, well, now what do you do? It's like, do we keep Riders? Do we use Riders? Like, I think Riders is a cult classic to Sonic fans. Like, people just love the
Man,
art style that was the original
it was
Riders.
so
They
good.
love that opening sequence, and it's just like, all right,
Imagine an anime with that art style.
bro, I want Sonic X Season 4. That's what I want. Was there? No. Yeah. This season. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I want them to continue Sonic X. That's all I'm saying. But
I know.
now we'll go to '06. So wait. What was our official thing on Riders? Did we think it was just good as is, or was it underrated?
I think it was. I want to say it was underrated, but I'm starting to see more stuff about it now, especially with the whole writers revamp
Right.
and all that stuff. So I think it's as is.
Okay, we'll just say it is as is. So now we get to '06.
It's actually interesting with '06 because I'm actually starting to see people, people are actually starting to defend '06 now. believe it or not.
They
We've
will,
gotten to that point in our lives.
yeah. You think about, has a game aged well in terms of what exactly? I think it's only become better because of the fan games that have come out for '06. Like the '06 like remake, like remaster or whatever that made the
Yeah.
game playable, and they
Hmm.
added subtle details that just make it a better experience rather than like the long loading screens that's faster and just like, yeah, it's the smaller things. The loading is probably the most annoying thing in that entire game. Like it's,
It's bad.
if you think about it, what makes the game unbearable to play? Is it purely the gameplay itself? Is it the story, or is it the fact that no matter what level you're in, you're gonna run into a glitch? Like it's probably the glitchiest Sonic game because it's so unpolished. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
If the game didn't have glitches, would it be fine?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, I want you to answer
Okay.
that.
I would say yes, as we've seen from, like you said, the remakes and remasters from fans, where they like the gems actually work.
Yeah.
Uh, like you could actually do certain actions that you know you couldn't do before.
Mm-hmm.
You can just stand on a box and kick or do the little spin kick move
Yeah.
to just yeet yourself up in the air.
Yeah.
Loading times, obviously. Uh, let's see what else was there. My favorite part. So I will say, my favorite part of the Sonic 06 is like the Mach speed sections with Sonic.
Yeah.
Um, and but even then, those are like really bad too, because like the collision is bad. Like you can't really like control. Like the idea is that you can't turn that sharp because you're going so fast, which I get. But like they want you to make damn turns, and like you don't have but half a mile of road left.
Yeah.
So like they clean that up, and then like when you would do like the little jump spots or whatever from like rock to rock, and like Sonic would practically a pose once he lands on the rock to jump to the next one.
Yeah.
They fixed that and like gave him this like little cool pose. So yeah, like yeah, just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing. It's the amount of fixes that needed to be made to make it look good.
Mm-hmm.
This is why the original game was such an atrocious game to play, was because there were that many problems with the game. Had there not been that many problems, the game probably would have been better off. But it was because there were so many problems that the game sucked. And it's like, I can't even say the game is underrated. I can't even say it's overrated. It's just like, either you say it is what it is what it is. That's my answer. I don't hate the
Yeah,
game. That's the thing. As more games come out, I start to realize that there were some, like, it's a matter of there was potential there in terms of like, can you it's like the story was there. The story was definitely more interesting up until that the one fabled ending where Elise kisses a hedgehog.
yeah.
Like, good lord! But if you took that out and just had it end normally, I feel like the story was probably one of the better.
Yeah, it was definitely good too because like Nephilis was a super interesting character.
Memphis was
For the Sonic franchise.
interesting. Silver's the new character Silver, introducing him, and now he's just this
Yep.
new character that's there. And even though his origins are a little shaky right now, since that timeline never happened, and that's the whole thing. That's the only plot thing I hate about I don't like about anything, is if you go through all this only to erase all of it. It's like watching a show for like
Why do we
seven.
do this? Why
Yeah,
are we here?
you're watching a show for 7 seasons, and then you're getting to the end, and you realize that you can reverse everything that happened. And it's just like you basically threw away 7 seasons worth of content for that ending. It was like what people thought they were going to do with the
Mm-hmm.
Harry Potter. Like, the original ending was supposed to be Harry Potter wakes up from underneath the bed, from underneath the stairs, because it was all a dream. And I'm like, that would have been a huge middle finger of an ending. I hate those kind of endings where it's just like, oh, it never really happened, or we completely erased what happened. And I'm like, all this happened, and you're just going to make it seem like it never happened. That's a huge middle finger to me. That's my only issue with the Sonic 06 story is that
Mhm.
like it never happened, and now it's like, where do you even fit this in terms of all the other Sonic games? Because Silver coming back was only explained when you played Sonic Rivals, which we never really talked about because I
Like
never really played those games. And it's just like there's
the
a whole,
story was okay. Like they tried the retcon Silver being back in there, and like it was. I mean, it made sense, I guess, but like
Blaze's
that was the
involvement
only
doesn't
thing
even
to
make
come out of.
sense.
Yeah, because it was like oh yeah, especially like you talking about like in '06.
Like Blaze is on 06, but she was in Rush a year before that. She's
A
from
year before that. That's what I was. Yeah,
I'm like she's from a
like
different dimension, but now she's from a
huh?
different timeline as a whole, and I'm like, but there's this whole theory about like, what if there for some reason Blaze like this? I don't. It's so hard to describe because time stuff is so confusing. But the only way I could describe this is that Blaze was became the vessel of Iblis, and she basically got Thanos snapped and she disappeared. So, but then that never happened. So it's like, okay, where do we put Blaze? What if we put her into a new dimension, new timeline? So they put her in like years beforehand in the other dimension that she's in. So then it lines up with what's happening with Rush and whatever happens after that. And it was so confusing watching it. And I'm like, does that actually make
But
sense?
I'm like, then
Like,
that doesn't make sense because like now she's not a princess. Now she doesn't guard the soul emeralds. Like her personality isn't going to line up because of how she's acting in '06 versus how she acts in Russian Adventures.
but what if after all those events, all of a sudden her like everything? Because like if it never happened, then I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm over it. I'm over it.
It's a paradox. It's an anomaly all of its own, and it hurts my head. So moving on. '06 is what it is. It was
It is,
bad. It was
it is what it is.
it was bad, but people say it's like okay, it's got some good qualities, but it's like in all reality, it's still as bad. It's like if you play the game
It's
now, it's
bad.
still as bad as it was when you first played it. Unless you're playing the remaster that's on the PC, then you're not going to get a better version of that game ever. Moving on. The Sonic Storybook Adventures. Sonic and the Secret Rings. Sonic and the
Um,
Black Knight.
Immaculate story, I will say. Gameplay, if it wasn't on the Wii, it'd have been good. I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna keep saying that. I'm gonna
Th-
stand on that hill.
that's the thing with Sonic games. Is
Black
like
Knight was actually pretty fun, I will admit.
it's either you have with Sonic games, it's either have a great story with terrible gameplay, or you have great gameplay with a very just boring story. Sonic Colors.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the gameplay. The story was just underwhelming and pretty generic in terms of like I don't know, but I can't really be in depth with that. I don't know. There's not too much to be in depth with.
It was
But
I remember when actually Sonic Colors came out because by then I was starting to like by then we were getting like more access to the internet and I was actually learning about the history of Sonic and all that. So I remember I went to get Sonic Colors like damn near on launch day, got home and beat it in like 30 minutes. Or no, I beat it in 4 hours. I don't know
wow,
why I said
beating
30
Sonic
minutes. I
Colors in
beat
30
it.
minutes? That's got to be a record.
I I meant to say 40. I meant to say 4 hours. I beat it in 4 hours, and I remember I remember coming upstairs from playing the game in the basement, and like a few hours later, and my mom was like, "You all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I just beat that game." She's like, "What?"
What?
So yeah, I remember that day. I was actually like disappointed because I was like, "Damn, I really just beat this game in 4 hours." Like that wasn't nothing. So he
Yeah,
was good. That's why I played through the whole thing because I enjoyed it clearly. But like that's all it took.
yeah. So yeah, with Sonic and the Secret Rings, it was a gimmick that they tried. The gameplay just was not there. It was just so frustrating. And by the time I finally beat that game, I'm like, this game was a chore.
Now
So
I will admit, with Secret Ring specifically, I did, and Black Knight actually, I did like how their like boosting work. Like how like they had that like screen effect, and they just took off.
oh, it's Speed
And they
Break,
actually had a few
Time
fun
Break.
stages.
They had
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
That I actually enjoyed
I think the
because
all.
especially like there's this one level where you're fighting this like flying thing or you're chasing it. I almost said it's one of the sand levels, but half the levels in that game are sand levels.
Uh huh.
But you're like chasing it on this like air road thing, and you're like using speed break and time break to like catch up to it. It was fun. I actually that was my favorite level of the game.
You
Black
know
Knight I enjoyed too.
you know what was actually I think the best part about the entire Sonic and the Secret Rings game, they had an entire party mode with the game.
Yes, yeah,
It was your like Sonic Shuffle, Mario Party type party game, and I, to me that was the best part of the game. And I think you could unlock other characters to play, but
yeah. You could unlock like Silver and Blaze and
like
stuff.
we only had the game so we can play. Like me and my siblings could play the party games because that's all we would do with
Yeah,
that game. Like I didn't feel like playing the actual game, and they just ended up we just played the party games. That's all we really did, which was like, all right, but yeah, that's I think that's the only redeeming quality of that entire game, other than its pretty good story. But that's the thing. There's the storybook adventures. They're obviously going to be story driven, but it's just like you have to match it with a gameplay that works, that fits. So if you compare Sonic and the Secret Rings to Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic and the Black Knight I think was better
way better.
in terms of story and gameplay. I'd even argue music. Music is only
Yeah, definitely.
music was only
Definitely.
fitting because of its genre. Because you have your Knights of the Round Table type music, and you have Crush 40 ripping on it. The way
Oh,
the
it's
fight.
so good. That's one of my favorite songs. The Night of the
They
Winged is one
have
of my favorite
three
songs.
good songs in that game. Actually,
Alone, yeah.
I think they have a couple. Actually, now that I think about it, but it's like
Like even like the final boss theme, that was pretty good.
yeah.
Um, let's see what else. A lot of the stages were good.
See, it's just so funny. I've watched other people play the game, and they just get frustrated with some of the game mechanics. Like this one guy was trying to fight the dragon boss. There was like a dragon boss, and it's like,
Oh yeah,
oh my
yeah, yeah, yeah.
god, they raged quit. They actually raged quit, and it was
Oh wow.
awesome. It was so funny to watch. It was like the unavoidable chin move, and it's just like, oh my gosh. It's just like either they skipped it to I don't know. It's like they managed to get through most of the game, and then they're like, they were just like, oh, Knuckles is about to kill himself.
Yeah.
But storybook adventures, if I were to rate them, I can't say they were good. I can't say they were terrible. Okay, let me do Sonic and the Black Knight and Sonic and the Secret Rings separate. Sonic and the Secret Rings, no, just no, no. Sonic and the Black Knight, I'd honestly say it's a little underrated. Just a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit, just a little bit. Just cause like I don't know. I just cause personally I like that era, and I think Sonic with a Sword is awesome, and I wish they do more like collabs with that. Like seriously, like to put Sonic in Genshin Impact.
Oh god.
He'd be an emo.
Five.
He'd be an Nemo user.
And then Nemo, you mean Animo?
Animo, whatever. Anemo. I'm just thinking of something else.
And a
Amiibo.
Nemo user.
Amiibo. No,
Oh
an
god.
Animo user. Yeah, he'd be an Animo user. That'd be so cool. But yeah, that's just I'm just gonna say it's a little underrated. But Sonic and the Secret Rings is absolutely not. Nope. Just nope. I hated playing that game. I
Yeah,
hated
there's probably like 3 levels max that I like in that one.
Who's gonna rock the place? Yeah, forever gonna rock the place. Who's gonna rock the place? Yeah, no one can touch. Okay. Moving on.
And then we got Colors.
No. We got Sonic Unleashed.
Oh yeah, we didn't do any. We
Highly,
kind of skipped
highly,
over
highly,
the
highly,
Disney
highly underrated game. Highly. I
Absolutely,
will forever ever
absolutely.
praise that game as one of my favorites. It's not
Favorite
my
game of
favorite.
all time.
It is so underrated. I even think it's overhated. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely overhated because people rip on the night stages, and then people even try to rip on the day stages sometimes and be like, "Oh, you're just playing like hallway the game," and I'm like, "It's definitely a lot more than that, my guy."
Yeah, and I'll even admit there are like some things they could fix. Like if they could do like if they ever did like an ultimate like Unleashed remastered, I'd like them to do like an adventure mode and a story mode. Like story mode, you don't have to collect the medals at all. But the adventure mode would be like you collect all the medals, you collect all the the VHS tapes, all the records, all the books, all that stuff. That's the only thing I would like really change about it. Other than that, like I think the combat system that the game had with the Unleashed stages, I think was I mean
It was good actually.
it's good and it works with its game and it's just like with adding combos and adding strength, it's like you want to focus on strength because if you focus on health and all the other stuff, like by the time you get to Eggman Land,
Yeah,
you're in a world of pain if you're not focusing
yeah.
on
There was
strength.
actually like strategy to like how much EXP you put into stuff,
Yeah,
and there's a shit ton of combos you can do too.
yeah, and the
Like it wasn't no
combos.
1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 over and over and over again. You can play like that, but like once you start getting like combos, you're like, oh, this is actually
It's
a
like
fun beat
the
'em up.
combos were fun. You'd have like the cool bang 'em up, the cool like he's banging everything everywhere. He'd have the cool like punches. He'd have the spinning wheel,
The
like
uppercut.
yeah, like all that stuff, and then slamming the thing on the ground, and then just throwing a bunch of enemies around, all that stuff. But I think what
And
was
it actually had good platforming too. Like people discount the platforming for the Werehog specifically.
I think my favorite okay in terms of music, my favorite Werehog stage was Adabat, the Jungle Joyride Night. Love that
Mm-hmm.
score. Absolute favorite. But in terms of level, I love
Yeah.
Rooftop Run for the Werehog stage. I love when you get into the clock tower and you're just like if you I love speed running that clock tower.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
love speed running
I
that.
think my jungle. I think my favorite. As you know, for me, I'm always blasting Windmill Isle in my headphones.
Uh-huh.
So Windmill Isle is definitely my favorite stage through and through. Rooftop, like all the day stages are really good. Rooftop Run is definitely number two.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. There's something about cruising through that island nation of Pathos. It's just like
Mhm.
immaculate. It's there.
Yeah, cuz what is it? I think my least favorite like werehog level would have to be either the arid sands or
Uh,
the it's either that one or I'm trying to think of the other one. Oh,
you just triggered a memory.
the what was it? The Empire City level.
I don't like Empire City only because of the whole no railings thing.
The no
But
railing
you just triggered
thing.
a memory of that one stage or that one area in Arid Sands
Is
where
it
it
like up
was
those
like
stairs
literally
and
just a trap. Yes,
it's that
just
one
a
and you have to
trap
fight
of like
enemies that are so much harder to fight and they just keep coming until they just stop. Oh my
they're
god.
just numerous and belligerent.
There's
Like it's
nothing
bad.
up there though, which is what I think is like
There's nothing. It's weather waste.
yeah, like you don't have to go up there for anything. And that's what I'm like that's what pisses me off is that like I don't have to
It's
go up there.
literally like an extra 3 minutes for no reason.
It's an extra 3 minutes and that's the thing. That was when I first played the game, I had such a hard time with that area because I wasn't focusing any of my experience on uh leveling I wasn't focusing my leveling up on the strength. It was mostly on health, the unleash, and probably the combos. Because I'm like, I'm not sure what any of this means. It's like strength is important. Just remember that strength is very important. It's just a matter of
Right.
defeating the enemies faster. But I think one of the coolest. I love the currency system. They use rings for currency. I think That's
Right.
smart,
Yeah.
and it's great, especially if you figured out the Chunon glitch in the stage select. You go up there, you boost in that ring of rings, and you just run around for like minutes on end till you get like about 5,000 rings. Then you just go buy yourself a bunch of chili dogs and you eat them all, and you're up to like 50 experience, and then you just use them all to level up your character. You can basically max out your character before the end of the game.
Yeah. So I remember, so on PlayStation Now you can play with Sonic Unleashed, and the glitch is still there.
Uh huh.
So I went ahead and did it just to see like how crucial it would make the gameplay. I maxed out day stage stats completely, and then did the time trials and completed it with no problem whatsoever. I was like, oh wow.
It's like, wow. That's the thing. If you don't, if you know, this is the thing. Go through the game without doing that, and then when you do, then you play the game again, and you do that, you just realize, oh my gosh, this made life so much easier. It's like that you get to Eggman Land, and you're walking up, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we are the hardest enemies in the game." You basically one shot the freaking Eggman robots, and it's just like, yeah, that's fun to do.
You never felt more powerful.
Right. I just think the whole dynamic of that game. I wish they went back to certain things that they did in that game, like buying food to gain experience. Like they didn't just throw food in the game to not use it for any reason. You eat the food, you gain experience from it. You give it a Chip, he
Yeah.
can give you things if you give him food. He'll give you special like VHS tapes that are like,
And you get like little dialogues. Those were so cute.
yeah,
And then hub worlds themselves. I feel like we need another hub world. I feel like it's been a while since we've actually had hub worlds.
I do miss hub worlds. I do miss them. I do.
Especially the ones that were actually populated, like Unleashed. Like they were actually like you felt like you were actually walking through a city or a village.
Yeah, and you have your side quests you can do, and it was like Sonic 06, except Sonic 06 was a little more. It was so annoying, but with Unleashed, it's like you
Yeah.
weren't obligated to talk to these people, and you weren't obligated to talk to people in Sonic 06. It's just rather than having it so wide open like 06, you have it narrowed down to like a city street, and that's it. And
Hmm.
that's it, and that's fine. I think that was great. I think it was good to kind of narrow it down to just that, which is why I think I love
And then
the.
also, I like how we had like the stage select areas themselves, where you like could move around as if you were in a stage, but you were still in the hub world.
Mm,
Like that was really innovative to me.
like the new level select that they're doing, and people are talking about like I'm hoping the new Sonic game is a little more open world, and I think that's what they're saying is that it is going to be open world. But I'm like, what does that mean for a Sonic game? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean for a Sonic game? Like, what does open world mean? Like, is it just going to be like, I don't know. I just don't know what that looks like for a Sonic game.
Right.
Like, what is I like? I don't know. I could make some guesses, but like none of them would be pretty accurate to what the end result would be. Like,
We won't know
if they're
until you
anything
see
like the
it. You
fan
know,
games, like the what is it, the Sonic
Sonic Utopia.
Sonic Utopia? Yeah, exactly. If it's anything like that, then I'm all down for that. But I seriously doubt
Absolutely.
it's going to be like that. I mean, it could be similar, but I have no idea. And I can't say anything because obviously we haven't seen any gameplay for it. And we're probably not going to see any gameplay until like late next year
Yeah, I would definitely say that's the end of next year at the earliest.
at the earliest, right? But yeah, Sonic Unleashed I think is a complete underrated gem of a game. Like I think it's overhated. Like what reason do you have to hate it other than the Werehog stages? I think it is a it's a first of all it's a visually beautiful game, especially for a PS3 and Xbox 360. Now, if you're gonna say like I only played the Wii version and never the other version, play the better version of the game. And it's just like
You have to.
it's like
Please
you have
treat
to
yourself.
like don't pain yourself playing the Wii version and don't compare the two because people will be like, oh, Unleashed sucked, and it's like, did you play the PS3 version or the Xbox 360 version? It's like, no. Was there a difference? It's like major difference. Gameplay is so much better. The quality of the game is so much better. I just think it's a beautifully stunning game. The music is beautiful. It's just the game is great. Story is pretty great. Story is what you expect. It's your Sonic and Tails meet some small creature, and they help them out to save the world. Then Sonic Colors does the exact same thing, except you're saving multiple
Right.
worlds. But Sonic Colors, I think, if we're moving on to the next game, Sonic Colors, I think, is overrated. I wouldn't say it's highly overrated. I wouldn't even say it's a little overrated. I just think it's overrated.
Yeah, I feel like I said, like I'm gonna keep saying, it was on the Wii, you know. But at this, not that I hate the Wii, it was just on a game. I just don't think they work on the Wii. But you know, the gameplay was there. It just, I feel like the stages just weren't like all the stages weren't there, and they tried too hard to use the gimmicks, I guess. But so like we stepped away from like just the pure adrenaline of Sonic Unleashed day stages, and then went. Now we're heading more towards like the gimmicky like stuff that we see in like I don't know Lost World or something.
See, with the stages, I feel like it was like you had your main stage, but then you had the
Right.
smaller, like shorter stages that were basically just segments of the main stage, but adding a little bit extra to it. And it's just like, okay. But, I mean, overall, I mean, the game looked pretty good. I mean, for a Wii game, that's all I can really say.
Yeah.
And, I mean, with the new Colors Ultimate coming out, I'm hoping that it looks decent on a console or a PC. That's the thing. That's the difference. That's going to be the game
We got a
changer.
little over a week, Camden. We'll find out. You
I
know,
know. Hey, I think is it if you pre-ordered it, do you get it like? Or I know you get early access to it, but how early do you get it?
it comes out in 9 days
I think it was like a.
for early access
I think. Oh, really? Okay.
because I think the scheduled release date is November.
No, it's supposed to come out in September.
I thought. Let me look it up
I'm like, what? I'm
because
like, if that game's coming out, like the early
uh,
access is September, and then the game comes out in November. Like,
Ultimate
what?
So, oh no, that's it's showing the original,
Oh,
September 7th.
7th. I think we get it on the 3rd.
I
Yeah,
want to
it's a
say.
4-day early
Hey
access.
Siri, what day will it be in 9 days? Oh nope, that's not at all what I said. Don't even worry about it.
uh, Anyway, yeah, but I just think even like now this granted this was the switch to the new voice actors. You got Roger Craig Smith. You got I think Kate Higgins was Tails at the time.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, it was Kate Higgins. Which did they go back to Kate Higgins for Ultimate? Because I think they did new voice lines.
Oh no,
But I think they also like was it Kate Higgins who did the Rise of the Wisp short animation? No, now I'm curious. Hold on. Let me see.
yeah, but I don't know. We have to look it up.
There's this there. Anyway, keep our guests entertained while I look for this. Talk more about Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors. Rise of the Wisps. The Wisp. I wonder if Rise of the Wisps with voice cast. Kate Higgins. They got Kate Higgins to come back for the voice of Tails, and now I'm like, is she here to stay, or are they gonna go back to what's her face for Tails for the rest of the games? Because I forgot her name, but she currently voices Tails like for Sonic Boom, and she was the voice of Tails in the end of the Sonic movie. But I forgot her name.
Right.
But you know who I'm talking about.
Remember.
It's like
Yeah.
you know who I'm talking about. But now they have Kate Higgins back for Colors, so now I'm wondering: are they keeping Higgins, or are they going back to, or are they staying with Boomtails? Because
I don't know.
I don't know, but that's what I was just curious about. I'm like, really? I'm like, I knew that was Kate Higgins, and just like, because it's so distinct between that one and the one they got for Sonic Boom. So now, and I mean, I I think I preferred Higgins because I think it was just like really fitting voice for Tails. Didn't even go into which voice actors we thought were the best, but I'm like, I don't know. They're all different. They all provide their own thing, but because as I said, this was the new voice cast for Color, so obviously the writing was going to be different. Everything was just going to be different. So like story wise was a hit or miss, and I think it was a hit. It was a miss for me because it got
It was okay for me.
it was a concept that I don't know. It was the once you get into the routine of it, then that's the story. Like you have to figure out what it is you need to do, and once you're doing it, it just gets repetitive, and then you get to the end, and that's the end. And the end was just kind of like, okay, Sonic's not dead. The wisps will bring him back to the surface of the earth. But that was intense. That was an intense moment. Was running away from the big
I was
black hole.
intense. I'm not gonna lie. The first time I played through that, that was super hype. I was like, oh no, did I not make it? I was like, did I fail? Did I not like pass the stage? And then it hit the cutscene. I was like, oh no, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, but I'm just gonna say it's overrated. Because I hear a lot of people love the game, and it's just like people love the story and people love the gameplay, and I'm like, I think this is where this is like the level. I think the only thing that bothered me more than anything was the level design. Like
Yeah,
that was it, and I think the wisps were a great gimmick for the game. Had I wished they didn't bring them back into Lost World, here's the thing: I completely forgot that the wisps were in Sonic Lost World. like when some because it's been such a long time since I played Lost World, and someone was talking about how it's like, oh yeah, here's a weird little gimmick about Sonic Lost World and the Cyan Wisp, and I'm like, wait a minute, the wisps were in Lost World? I had completely
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
about that. I'm like, why were they even in there?
They're more they're more prevalent in the 3DS version because they introduced new ones.
Yeah, and if it's relevant to the story, that makes sense. But in the Wii U version of
They were
Lost World,
not at
they
all.
were not even mentioned in the story, and it's just like,
And then not even that. That like defeats the ending of Colors in both games, in both versions of Colors. Because in both versions of Colors, the Wisps go home and take
they're
their planet
gone.
with
They're
them.
gone. I'm like,
So how the hell do we even see them anymore after that?
the next game after Colors is Generations.
I love Generations. I still play it to this day. I'm
Okay,
sure it's pretty obvious.
okay. So there's a part of me that almost wants to say it's overrated, but I think it's great. I think it's good as
Really?
is. The part of me that says it's overrated is the part of me that says this game was too quick. Like you
Yeah.
beat this game too fast. I mean, Sonic, but like that's not the problem. The problem was it's a great game.
Mhm.
It's not its standal. It's an anniversary title. Like that's what the game is.
Right.
Like the level, I think Sonic Generations had the best modern Sonic level design, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Like, uh,
Even better than Unleashed almost.
Seaside Hill probably is my favorite level in terms of level design. Like in terms of 3D Sonic, I think it was the best out of all the other levels. Even like even Sky Sanctuary probably had a really good one too. And it's just, that's the thing. There's like so many of these had such great 3D level design, even for classic Sonic. Like I'm like, you went from
Mhm.
such
Yeah,
great.
even
That's I have a hard time not comparing forces to generations because they both coming off of the same area. You have a classic Sonic, you have a modern Sonic. They should have played the exact same as they did in Generations, but they didn't.
exactly.
And it's like, how do you stray so far away from Generations and you get forces? Like, what went wrong? Was it the
What
level
happened?
design? Was
What
it the
happened here?
gameplay? Like classic Sonic. Like, okay, I'll admit, when I first played Sonic Generations, I was never a fan of the secondary gimmick. I was so used to the modern level design that I loved playing modern Sonic, but like I just couldn't get behind the classic stages. It wasn't my favorite, but But obviously looking back on it now, I'm like, man, the classic stages in Sonic Generations were fantastic, but they were absolute
Yeah,
garbage, absolute horseshit in Sonic Forces, and it's like, okay, Sonic Generations aged well because of Forces. So now, okay, now I won't even say it's overrated. I think it's great as is because
I think it's a great game.
it's a great
Especially
game.
for an anniversary title. But I just find it interesting that like Generations, like for some reason, after Unleashed, like I think let me see. I think it's after Unleashed the the uh amount of game, I guess, is so much lower. Sonic Colors, I literally beat in 4 hours. Sonic Generations, I might even have done in three. Like that's just, and Sonic Forces, we all know, is super quick too. But it's like,
See, I could
where
probably,
did all the game go?
yeah. Right now, I can probably check on Steam and see how much it took me to beat the game because I beat it like story wise and just stopped. It's like it's like it probably would have been in like 2 3 hours, and it's just like because when you play it the first time, it's like you get through what you can, you take a break because you're like, oh, I don't feel like sitting here. But like that's the thing with Forces, I sat there for 4 straight hours to beat the game because I'm like,
Yeah,
I'd like you can tell I'm like I'm getting to the end, I'm getting to the end. I got the Here's the thing, I got the game at 7, I beat it at 11, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm done.
yeah, same,
I'm
literally,
already done.
literally. So you know how they like show Park Avenue?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was like, "Oh, that's probably like one of the first stages." That's the middle of the game.
That was the middle of the game. Then they had the new Green Hill Zone. That was the first stage of the game, and that's the thing.
And I'm
They
like,
had the demo.
ugh,
They had the Japanese demo, and people were like desperate that they made Japanese accounts so that they can play the Sonic Forces demo, and it was the Green Hill Zone. And it's like you only get a minute of gameplay, right? So and
and it's. I'm like, I
people can
understand
beat
speed
it in
running,
a
but like,
minute,
why
and
are
that's the
you
thing.
literally? And that's the thing. That's the other thing I was. Oh shit! That
Hmm?
was the other thing I was gonna bring up. I'm like, what is it like? Why are these stages so short? Why am I able to do? I shouldn't be able to do this in under a minute.
Why is there
Like
so
I
much
understand like the
dialogue
point
during
of
these stages? Is this Sonic Boom?
yeah,
I mean, you can turn that off, but that's only after you beat the game. But
yeah.
yeah, so Sonic Generations is great. Then you go to Sonic Lost World, and I think it's underrated. I think it's a little bit underrated because I don't think there was anything truly wrong with the gameplay. The gameplay was actually pretty decent for what it
Uh,
was. I just think it was too Mario Galaxy esque.
yeah. If it was like Sonic stages and not Mario stages, and like wasn't on the Wii U, I think it would have.
Yeah, I'm like it's just I mean you have it on PC now, which I think it's probably better off that way, but
You
that's
will be like doing some crazy stuff with like the movement in that game, and I'm like, wow, this actually looks fun.
yeah, and so now you have, and in terms of story, it's not the worst. It's just like I'm like, honestly, the whole game does feel like you're playing a Mario game because you have your different worlds to go through. You have your grassy plains, your desert, your snow, your jungle, your Bowser's castle, whatever world, and
Right,
you basically have the Bowser of the game, freaking Zavok, and oh my gosh, the amount of
right.
times they bring him back is unnecessary. I don't think I
And I'm
could
like,
I don't
no
think
one likes him.
I'm like I don't think I can name a single Sonic fan who actually liked any of the, like some of the Deadly Six people may have liked, but like to bring Zavok back constantly into the story to make him relevant, and it's just like I don't think people actually liked him. That's the problem. Like Zaz, I thought he was. I mean, you had the big fat one, and that was pretty. I don't know. Then you had all the
I
other
didn't like
one,
any of them.
the old
So
one, the emo one, the chick one. I'm like, okay. It's like sorry that
none of them did it for me,
it's like I didn't realize I was fighting Bowser and his Koopa kids. And
man. Literally,
it's like, and then you have your I Eggman bosses have become the exact same since Colors, where
yep.
you're running straight at them and you're hitting certain weak points by the time you get up there. But Lost Worlds was like not even like challenging. If I'm thinking about it, like no, it wasn't. Like Colors had a little bit of a
They're,
challenge to it. But then, like, you had that in Colors, you had that in Lost World, and you had the exact same thing in Forces. The Forces was
yep.
literally Colors boss fight. Except it lasted to, like, 3 phases, which was the only real difference. Like, oh my gosh. That boss fight actually was the thing that took me the longest.
Yeah, like literally, and I think the only reason it took so long is because there was 3 phases, and like if when you didn't know what you were doing yet, it was a little challenging. But like you were like, oh, he just takes away the platforms. I just gotta stay to the side,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah. That's the thing. And so, I mean, I say Lost World is underrated because I actually kind of enjoyed the gameplay. I thought it was unique in a way, but in terms of everything else, it's just kind of meh. Which I think
Yeah,
it wasn't like the worst Sonic game. It was just like a game that exists. So it's just kind of there. I can't say it's
right.
underrated. I'd say it's just I think it's a little underappreciated, but that's really it.
But not by much though.
Like music was decent. It was the same people who made on the same music who made Unleashed. It was the same like the way it was made. It was the
Composers.
exact the same composers. Like oh the freaking I think it was the like the underground water level where you're on the rails. I forgot what it was called.
Seaside reggae or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. It was like oh that music was so good. It's like that.
It was good. It
I
was
think
good.
the I
I
think
actually unironically like Windy Hill as well. I will admit.
But yeah, yeah, the music it has its charm, but it's just not what I consider like the greatest, but it's not like the worst. It just existed, and I played it like
Yeah.
maybe once or twice in my life, and that's it. No, and I won't even rebuy it onto my PC because I'm just like I don't feel like playing this again, right? Because it's just like I mean, maybe it'd be a different experience have I would play it on PC, but I don't know. I don't know. I just don't have the motivation to play it. All right, I'm gonna move on. This next game is probably it's interesting. Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric. I think I'm only gonna talk about this one because all the other Sonic Boom games, I'm like, all right, whatever. They exist, but they're not like the highlights of whatever they are. What the hell happened?
They tried to get innovative and like make a new
They were trying to do the
thing,
exact
and it
same
didn't
thing
work.
that they did with Crash Bandicoot, which was a completely new redesign, but those games absolutely sucked. But then they had Sonic Boom was trying to be the exact same way, a new TV show, a new like modernization to what it is, trying to be a little more adventurous or whatever. They
Yeah,
I swear Sega probably actually they actually almost went bankrupt trying to mark the amount of marketing that went into this game and the show. The show was more successful, but it only lasted a season on
the show
Cartoon
was
Network.
actually good.
It was good. It lasted a season on Cartoon Network, but then they moved it to Boomerang, and I'm like, oh my gosh, really? They're gonna treat this show like that? Oh, they completely like backwatered it. I'm like, oh my gosh. But for good reason, because nobody even cared about the game, because the game was so bad. Like, it made Sonic 06 look like a masterpiece. The game was
Yeah, it was
slow, it was boring.
unpolished. Isn't even like a good enough term to say how bad it was. Like put
The
together.
only the only reason I would go back and play the game was because of the Knuckles jump glitch. Did you ever do that?
Yeah,
I only did that,
I did
and
it once.
they patched it, and then they patched it, and I never ever touched the game again. Cause I'm like, this game is so bad. What reason do I have to go back to it and play it? It's just terrible. And it's just like,
Yeah.
uh, for anyone who says they like the game, I'm just curious as to why.
But why?
And I don't like if there is a genuine reason you love playing a game. If it was your first Sonic game and that's the reason you're a Sonic fan, first of all, I'm sorry, and second of all, good for you. They cancel each other out, but it's fine because that's the thing. Me as an older I mean, I can't say I'm the oldest Sonic fan. I am started playing games that basically Sonic Unleashed was my first main series title game to have played, which is interesting. But other than that, I have those games up till then I played all the classic games and I played the adventure games and all that stuff. So I have stuff to compare it to. Sonic Boom is nothing like any of those games. I can't even think of a
Oh,
similarity. Not even the speed sections in Boom are like there. And the whole like it's a beat 'em up game. It's just a beat 'em up. And the whole animation
which
video,
I feel like could work for Sonic.
yeah, it could if you could implement it in a way that isn't so tedious, right? Because you're like there's no health bar, so you have no idea if what you're
Actually,
doing is
no,
even working.
which has worked for Sonic because we have Unleashed.
You had Unleashed, it was a beat 'em up, but like in that sense, it was fun because you didn't have like two sets of buttons to use. You had, well, you had two. You had like your triangle and your square button, depending on what you were using. And you can combine a bunch of them, and you can even like it's just the way it was executed was fine. But in Boom, it was literally like two buttons. You either had your punch button, you had your weird little spin dash button, or whatever character you were using, and it's just like I don't know. Like some levels were just so long and unbearable, and I didn't even want to like. There was a part of me that wanted to complete the game 100%, but no, I
I
simply
beat it and deleted it.
I simply gave up on the game, and that's the thing. I will probably never ever play that game again.
Absolutely not.
Unless for
No
some
way.
miraculous reason there's like some charity event I'm a part of and they're like, oh, we want you to play the worst game you've ever played. I'm like, god fucking damn it, I don't want to play Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. It's like if you can somehow find the game that hasn't been burned to the ground already, then by all means send the game flowing my way. But other than that, that is probably the worst game I have ever played. It's like I can't think of a game that was worse than that I've played. That's the thing.
That's probably the worst video game ever. Played.
Right. And it's just like, man, I can't believe they found a game that was worse than Sonic 06. I can't believe they made a game that was worse than Sonic 06. And the DS version was better. And then they made
The DS
they
version
made
was
Sonic
better.
Boom Fire and Ice, which was probably one of the better 2D Sonic games in the most recent years before Mania. And that's what's crazy to me is like the show was running for a good 2 seasons and it was like an underrated gem. Underrated gem. But
Absolutely.
it was cut short, unfortunately, and that's what sucks about it. But other than that, Sonic Boom, probably the worst game I ever played. Can't it's underhated. People don't hate the game enough.
Underhated. Oh
It's
wow.
underhated. People don't hate the game enough. I'm sorry. After that, I don't know. Do I? You know what game I miss? I
Which
miss
one?
what is it called? Sonic Runners.
Yes, bro. When they shut down those servers, I was sick. Have you played the Sonic Runners revamp,
I
the fan
tried.
version?
I think I
I
tried.
I got it to work on my phone for like 2 months, and then it got blocked again.
Oh my, yeah, yeah. That's the thing, though. It's just like people invest so much money into this game to get that weird like microtransaction system, and it was. I agree. It was pretty, ugh, but I didn't really give into that. I had as many characters as I did, just playing the game, because
Mhm.
I would grind that game, and that game was so much fun to play.
It was so
All the
fun.
events that you would play were awesome. All the Sega events you'd play, the
Yep.
anniversary events you'd play. You'd get all these
Oh, the
characters.
buddies you can collect.
Right. You get the game, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh yeah, we're not even gonna support the game anymore. We're simply just gonna shut it down." I'm like, why would you do that? Like
They could have at least let you play it.
yeah, but it's such a like it was heavily reliant on a server, which was what the problem was, and it's just like, oh my gosh, and I
Yeah.
guess this just wasn't making enough revenue, and it's just like, darn it. And you weren't even going to do anything with the game. Actually, they did do something with the game, but that I think was much worse. The whole what was it? Sonic Runners
The
Adventure.
adventure one,
Beat that game
it
in
was
like a
it was
day.
bad.
I beat that game in a
And I'm
day.
like, there's no endless mode.
Yeah, no endless mode. It was simply like get all the achievements, get all the stars, and you're good. Simple as that. You
The
get all the
story wasn't
characters.
anything new.
Yeah, and it was a pay game. You actually had to pay to play the game.
Did to buy it, yeah.
You bought it was like what was it, $2.99 a game, or I don't even remember. That's the thing.
More than free. That's what it was.
Yeah, more than free. You play the game and you don't even play for that long, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is such a waste. Like there are other mobile, like Sonic Dash is probably one of the more popular. Uh,
I still have Sonic Dash on my phone to this
I have
day.
Sonic Dash. I have Sonic Forces Speed Battle, which is what I think. I think it's great. I think that game is great. I think it's a great
I enjoy it.
multiplayer.
Never
Like,
done it.
yeah, I think it's a great. I think it's a great way, like a great endless. It's not an endless runner. It's a racing game that feels like. I mean, you're basically playing Sonic Dash, but it's a race between other players, and you can either be
Right.
really good at it or really bad at it. I think I'm good at it. So, if y'all want to challenge me, but I think they're adding a like a not a it's like a it's a multiplayer mode that like you can play with like friends on your friends list rather than it being random. So
Hmm.
like you can invite like you can compete with the person in the room next to you, right? Rather than it just being a random selection.
Okay.
You know what game I completely forgot about was Sonic Dash 2.
Yeah,
It
because
was
they
the
did the
Sonic
whole
it was
Sonic
the
Boom
Sonic
thing,
Boom version of Sonic Dash, which
and it was that.
I completely forgot about it. I think it's amazing how that game existed. I think they're still updating it and putting new characters. I think they just recently put Vector into the game.
Uh, yeah, I think so. But it's like not that good compared to the first one
Right.
at all.
Sonic Jump is still. I don't know if that game is still relevant. I mean, they don't do anything with Sonic. It was basically the Doodle Jump for Sonic. So it's like
Yeah.
it was just them trying to go into that trend, but that trend didn't really last. And I think the Endless Runner is still a rather. It's your typical app. It's the first app you ever get. It's like, where's my Sonic Angry Birds? Actually, the weird collabs they'll do on Sonic Dash is ridiculous. They did like a Danimals
Yeah.
collab with the stupid monkey.
I remember that one
You
actually.
can play the monkey. You can play Red from Angry Birds. You can play. There was a bunch of weird crap. You can play the freaking android mascot. The weird little. I don't know what it was. It was like a weird little green round thing, but I think it had like a Sonic skin on it, which was I don't know. I don't know. But other than that, what was that? I was just talking about how I'm like Runners was underrated, and I hate how like it just failed the way it did. That was a Sonic Team game, right?
Yeah, it was good
That was
too.
made by Sonic
Really good.
Team. And people were looking at it originally and they're like, what is this game? It's like, it's a mobile app. It's like, oh, really? And it's like, for a mobile app, that's a great looking game. Even the
Yeah.
even the Sonic at the Olympic Games looks great for a mobile game, which I think is insane. But moving on, after Sonic Boom, let's fuck it, let's just go. Let's go right into Forces. I've been holding it off for this long, but if you haven't known already, I think the game is so mediocre. But I think the only reason I genuinely hate it is because I had so much hype for it for what it was what it could have been, but it was just completely underwhelming with the amount of content that was there. Now,
And
I
that one is entirely Sega's fault because they overhyped that game, giving us the early teaser back in like 2015 or some shit,
bringing back classic
and then
Sonic was a
like,
classic act in terms of getting people interested in the game already. It's just like we're bringing classic Sonic back, even though they said they weren't going to bring him back.
yeah,
And that's just I'm like it's just like why is he there? And then they announced that you can make your own custom hero and I was like, really, is he implemented into the story? And it's like, yep. I thought that was interesting. I think
that was actually kind of
all
cool.
things considered about Forces, I think I really only hated it for its story, its gameplay, but its cosmetics for your custom character I actually had fun with. I thought it was interesting. Like if I think a game is bad enough, but I had fun with it like the first time around, that's all I can really say is like I'm like I enjoyed the game for what it was the first time, but as I'm playing it, I'm starting to realize I'm like classic Sonic is unbearable to play. I can't play this guy. this is nothing like Generations classic Sonic. It's just like the physics aren't just not there. You have your drop dash, but that's the only momentum you're allowed to have throughout the entire game. Modern Sonic stages are hit or miss. Like you either have a really good
So yeah,
modern Sonic stage, or you have just really slow, like whatever ones.
I
Custom.
liked Eggate, and I want to say the chemical plant one,
There was Chemical Plant. There was the Null Space one.
and No Space. I like No Space.
Null Space was a good
I
one,
don't
but
know if
that
you
but
were
that
finding
was
that
that
one
was
because
that
there's
was
two
a Sonic
people.
and Custom Hero one.
Yeah,
The tag team ones were interesting.
I actually liked all the tag team ones that we had access to. Arsenal Pyramid, No Space. No Space is actually one of my favorite stages in the game.
I think
Um,
the reason Forces for me is just such like a disappointment is in terms of it's in terms of in my head I can think of better ways they could have executed the game. Like where was the Chaos boss fight? Where was my
right.
Shadow Rivals fight? Where was like why was Tails such a pussy? Why was Tails why was ugh it's like you basically ruined some of these characters for me. Like Tails is I don't know what they've been doing with Tails recently. Tails is the only character I feel like they've
Yeah,
done
I don't
dirty.
know.
There's Tails. Knuckles became less of a knucklehead and more of a leader, and then oh my gosh, more of a. I mean, I wouldn't say a leader figure. That's the. I think the biggest issue was you're bringing in all these characters and they don't add anything to the plot nor the gameplay. They're simply just there for fan appeal. Like, why are the Chaotix
Literally.
there? The Chaotix don't need to be there. They're just there to be there. Like, Chaotix don't need to be
And I'm
there.
like, it's like we went from like way too many playable characters to not enough
To not
as well.
enough, you end up just making up characters that are like, really? Who the fuck are these people? It's like we're bringing back classic Sonic as a playable character. It's like this isn't multiple playable characters. It's the same character, different gameplay styles. It's like you have Sonic's modern boost stage, you have classic Sonic's like 2D side scroller stage, and then you have the Shadow the Hedgehog gameplay with the
Basically.
Wispons, and it's like you just can't let go of the Wisps, can you? It's not that I have a problem with
And I'm like,
Wisps. They're
if they would
just
just explain it, it wouldn't be a problem.
I think they did explain it in the IDW comics and saying that most of them went back to their planet, but some of them decided to stick around. And I think that was
Yeah,
the
that
unexplained.
was the explanation.
It's like thanks
But
for
I'm like,
that was the exposition we needed in the games rather than the comics. And that's the thing about
I was just about
comics.
to say, I was like, why would you explain that in the comics that technically aren't even canon to the games?
That's the thing. The way they explain that's the thing. If I need an outside source to explain something, then
Then that means
that's
you didn't do a good job in the game.
right, exactly. So I'm just like, oh well. It's just Sonic Forces could have been so much better. That's the thing. I just think it could have been better,
Absolutely.
but it fell short in a lot of areas. That's why I'm like, that's why it's just like, that's the last game that came out. That's the only game that's on my mind because it's like I have nothing.
That's it.
It's like, if this is what I have to expect from the next game, then it's like that's why I'm like, okay, what now? What am I waiting for? The new Sonic Rangers game? That's what I'm gonna get. Like, but I can't say anything yet. I mean, we have your typical CGI trailer. You don't even get to see his face in the trailer. But that's the future right now. The only future we have with Sonic right now is April 2022 is the Sonic the Hedgehog movie 2. We get a second one. I think Idris Elba as Knuckles is going to be great.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
And then you have
pretty funny.
whoever's going to be Tails is whoever Tails is going to be. So that's with that. But I don't know. I don't know where I stand with the. I mean, you see all this. Whoever's watching this sees all the memorabilia behind me. Got a whatever. And it's like I'm a fan through and through. But I think the biggest issue. I think this next game is a make or break for me. Like that's
Um,
it. Like if this next game is, if it's even good and I have a fun time with it, I'm gonna be like, okay, all right, I see. If this is, if they say, because they say it's like this is where we hope the future of Sonic goes, and it's like, okay, I like the confidence. Just can you capitalize on that confidence with actual good content? That's all I'm asking for.
In good gameplay.
And good gameplay, a good story, a good quality game. Don't give us some lazy crap. You've literally had the last, okay, what, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. We're 4 years in now. And if you're waiting until 2023, that'll be 6 years. 6 years for another game. And if that's the case, it better be worth it. It better be worth the wait. That's the thing. You're going to lose a lot of fans if this next main game ends up being an utter disappointment. That's my biggest worry, is that it's just going to end up disappointing a lot of people. And then there's like, we waited 6 years for this, and it's just like, it's like, is it like, you think about where Ratchet and Clank has gone from where it began. It went from like, it made relevant games, but then it was just like, how do we fit in a platforming world now? Because platformers are so like hard to become popular nowadays. But like, think about the new Ratchet and Clank game. That game looks absolutely gorgeous compared to how the games used to look.
Stunning.
It's stunning. You have the new Crash Bandicoot game, the Crash Bandicoot 4, and that game looks, it's cartoony. I love how it looks. It's fitting for the character. So I'm just like, okay, this fits. I like that. Super Mario's still relevant in terms of it's making itself relevant in the world. So it's like, how does Sonic make himself relevant in terms of other platformers who have obviously better backings in terms of their companies? Ratchet and Clank and Crash Bandicoot, they have Sony and Activision backing up these characters, so obviously they have the resources to make these games look absolutely stunning. Mario's got Nintendo. Sonic has Sega. That's the problem. Sonic doesn't have this backing, so they're not able to get as much content out. So it's like,
right.
either they get these games out fast with less quality, or they take their time on it and get the game out when they feel like it deserves to go out. But it's just like, if you wait too long, it's just like you're almost like becoming irrelevant. It's like, we got to come up with ways to make smaller content for people to enjoy. We got a movie. We got this new remaster coming out. We got the Sonic Origins coming out, which I think they're remastering Sonic 3 and Knuckles for that.
You got Sonic Prime too.
Yeah, Sonic Prime. I forgot about Sonic Prime. I don't know what it's about, but it looks interesting from what I've seen. Because there was like leaked concept arts for it, and I think that looked pretty cool. But other than that, I have no idea what to look forward to, other than the movie and the show, which we know nothing about. And
yeah, I'm excited for the future, but I'm still nervous.
I'm being a little bit pessimistic about, because I was too optimistic about Sonic Forces, but now I need to be pessimistic about the next
Absolutely, game. Yeah, I was too.
That's the thing, and it's like, for fans out there who are just waiting, okay, I can't even consider you guys waiting anymore. You're simply just begging for something, for new content. Honestly, I'd even go into the risk and saying, go find something else. Like, go find something else. Like, I got Marvel stuff, I got Star Wars stuff, I got Batman stuff, I got like stuff that's coming out simultaneously. Like, I got other things to look forward to and not just this. That's how I've been able to wait for so long, is because I have other things to look forward to. So if you're strictly a Sonic fan and you've only been looking forward to that, you're gonna end up disappointing yourself. It's like, that's the thing with Sonic Forces. If you waited so long for Sonic Forces and that's the only thing you were looking forward to, I'm sorry. There are other things you could be looking forward to right now. And that's really it. That's really it for me. But all in all, I love the little blue devil. He's been with me for too long. I can't really give up on him that easily.
I know, right?
It's just like, I even say, it's like, you know what, this game better be good or I'm done. I'm totally done. I'm putting everything in storage. What?
made monkey bread. Do you want some?
Later.
Okay.
I've been offered monkey bread. I don't know if you've had that, but it's absolutely divine. The monkey bread
Oh
is
no!
absolutely
Oh,
tasty. Anyway,
it's not this one.
we have been talking for a good 3.25 hours. Shit.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. I honestly thought this was gonna be like
I
an
kept looking
hour.
over, and I'm like,
I thought it was gonna be like over
I
like
kept looking over, and I was like, God damn.
it's already. I'm like, we started this at 8. I'm looking over. I'm like, oh my gosh. See. Once you start talking, you're just like, oh, okay, we're still talking. I hope I have enough storage in my my computer to actually hold this 3-hour clip. I think it should be fine. It should be fine. Just deletes the entire video.
Recording 2 hours ago.
Yeah, but I think it's a good point to wrap this up. So, I don't know any sign-offs, so I'm just gonna go and say thanks for tuning in. If you're listening in, if you're watching this on YouTube, what's up? And hopefully I'm a little more frequent in my posts with this podcast. That's the hope. My Fridays are free now, so I can probably do this more often. So yay. Don't know what the next topic will be, but if you'll stay tuned for that, that'll be it. But other than that, y'all have a wonderful, wonderful life.